She said she was visiting her mom. But my mom moved to Arizona a long time ago. For 3 years, I lived with a woman who disappeared every weekend to another life, to another man. 3 years. That's how long it went on before I found out. If you told me when I first met Kayla that she'd turn into a person I couldn't trust, I wouldn't have believed you. We met through mutual friends at a New Year's party, 2019 going into 2020, right before the world went sideways. She had this confident laugh and the kind of energy that made the whole room seem lighter when she walked in. We hit it off immediately, started dating a month later, and honestly, the first year was good. Not perfect, but real. Kayla was one of those fiercely independent types. Always had something going on, or art shows, fitness classes, networking events. I like that about her. I work in IT, and my job isn't exactly glamorous, so being with someone creative made life feel a little more exciting. The only weird thing, even early on, was how she was never available on weekends. Ever. She told me from the start that weekends were her time to decompress. That she usually spent them upstate visiting her mom, who was recovering from a car accident and needed regular help with errands and meals. At first, I admired that, thought it said a lot about her character. Every Friday around 6, she'd pack an overnight bag, kiss me goodbye, and head out. She always turned her location off, said she didn't like the idea of being tracked. I never pushed her on that. I'm not that guy. We mostly lived together during the week. My apartment was closer to her office, and over time she sort of migrated into my place Monday through Friday. We'd cook dinner, watch shows, split chores. A quiet routine. Then Friday would come, and she'd vanish for 2.5 days. I'd get the occasional text, heading to mom's, tired, talk Monday, that sort of thing, but no photos, no calls, no updates. Then every Monday morning, she'd roll back in with a Starbucks in hand and an exhausted look on her face, like she'd just spent the whole weekend caretaking. At first, it didn't even register as a red flag. I mean, who was I to question how she took care of her mom? I don't have much of a family myself. My dad passed when I was a teen, and my mom's been in assisted living for a while now. We're not close. Maybe that's why I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I knew what loneliness felt like, and the idea that she had this bond with her mom felt like something sacred. I respected it. It wasn't until the second year that I started noticing cracks. There was this time last summer when she came back on Monday with a weird sunburn. I joked, "Did your mom move to Miami?" and she laughed it off, saying she'd been gardening all weekend. But she didn't smell like sunscreen. She smelled like hotel shampoo. Then there were the moments when she'd forget which story she told. Once, she mentioned helping her mom repaint the kitchen, but the next week, she said they'd hired someone to do it. Another time, she told me she was taking her mom to a wellness retreat. When I casually asked how the retreat was, she looked confused for a second, then quickly recovered and said it got cancelled. The thing is, these were little inconsistencies. Nothing glaring. Nothing I could point to and say, "This proves you're lying." And I didn't want to be the jealous, paranoid boyfriend. That wasn't me. I wasn't checking her phone. I wasn't asking for proof. I just let it go, again and again, until letting it go became a habit. But here's where the story really starts. It was a random Wednesday, a couple months back. I came home from work early because the system went down at our office and there was nothing for me to do remotely. Kayla was still at my apartment. She didn't hear me come in. I caught her sitting on the couch, legs curled under her, talking on speakerphone. She was laughing in that way she only laughs when she's talking to someone she's really close with, head tilted, voice softer than usual. I didn't recognize the voice on the other end, but I definitely recognized the tone. And then I heard him say, "Can't wait to see you again this weekend." I froze. She hadn't seen me yet. I backed out of the apartment like I'd just walked into the wrong room, closed the door as quietly as I could, then knocked like I had just arrived. She answered like nothing was wrong, phone out of sight, and kissed me hello. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask. But from that moment on, I started watching. And once you start looking at something from the right angle, all the missing pieces start clicking together. The next Friday, I told her I had to work all weekend. An emergency project. I encouraged her to go ahead and do her usual visit. She seemed weirdly hesitant at first, then relented and left like she always did. I waited an hour, then followed. I didn't have her mom's address. But I remember the name of the hospital she'd once said her mom did physical therapy at. I drove upstate, walked in with a bouquet of flowers, and asked for her mom by name, saying I was her daughter's boyfriend and wanted to surprise her. The nurse looked confused. "You mean the Carol that moved to Arizona 2 years ago?" I stood there, flowers in hand, heart hammering in my chest. "Arizona?" I mumbled an apology and left. Sat in my car with the engine running and didn't move for 20 minutes. That was the first time in my life I genuinely didn't know what to do next. I called my buddy Chris, told him a watered-down version of the situation, and he said something that hit me like a gut punch. Man, if she's not with her mom, who the hell is she with? I didn't have the answer. Not yet. I drove back to the city in silence. That weekend, she texted the usual long day, gonna crash early stuff. But something was off. Maybe it was me. Maybe I was off. The illusion had cracked, and now everything felt scripted. The following Monday, I acted normal. I didn't tell her I knew. Not yet. But I started to dig deeper. I found a second Instagram account she never mentioned. It wasn't private, just under a different version of her name, Kayla M instead of Kayla Marie. The profile was clean, minimal, mostly landscape shots and coffee photos. But one photo stood out. It was a cabin. A cozy A-frame surrounded by trees, with a caption that read "Our Weekend Sanctuary Evergreen Yellow Heart." It was dated 2 months ago. She'd told me that weekend she was nursing her mom through a stomach bug. The comments were even worse. A guy named Jared had commented, "Best weekend with my girl." She replied with a string of hearts. Jared. I clicked his profile. Fitness coach. Based in a town about 90 minutes outside the city. He looked like the kind of guy who says rise and grind unironically. There were more photos. None of her face. She was careful. But there were enough clues. A reflection in a window. A hand with her exact nail polish. Her sweatshirt. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. 3 years. Every weekend. While I was cleaning the apartment and ordering takeout for one, she was off living a second life. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. I laid there next to her, watching the soft rise and fall of her breathing, thinking about how many times I had believed her. How easily I had swallowed every excuse, every casual dismissal. I was humiliated. But more than that, I was heartbroken in a way that didn't even feel real yet. Like the grief was waiting around the corner, crouched and ready, but not quite here. I still didn't know how to confront her. Or if I even could. But I knew I had to. Somehow. Because I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see it anymore. The next morning, everything felt heavier. The bed, the air, even her voice when she said, "Morning, babe," like nothing had changed. But everything had. At least for me. I got up, went through the motions, shower, coffee, work emails, while she hummed her way through her usual routine like it was any other Tuesday. I couldn't even look at her. Every smile she threw my way felt like a knife. I kept thinking about that picture of the cabin. Her sanctuary. Her second life. I tried to hold it together. I kept telling myself I'd sit her down that night and ask her directly, calmly, reasonably. I wanted to believe I could be that kind of person. The one who handles betrayal like a grown-up. No yelling, no drama, just facts. But around 3 p.m., I cracked. She sent me a text. "Kayla, thinking sushi tonight?" Sushi. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. "Me, are you still seeing Jared?" It took her 4 minutes to respond. I watched the typing dots come and go twice before anything came through. "Kayla, what are you talking about?" I didn't reply. I got in my car and drove home. She was there when I walked in. Sitting on the couch, pale and stiff, like she'd been frozen in place since my text. I didn't even take off my coat. Just stood there in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting for her to say something. She didn't. So I did. "I know about Jared. I know about the cabin. I know your mom lives in Arizona. I know you haven't been spending your weekends with her." She blinked, mouth slightly open like she was trying to find a way to breathe through a different face. "How long?" she finally asked. "You tell me," I said. "Because I'm guessing it wasn't just the last few months." She swallowed. "It wasn't, it's not what you think." That line. That stupid, tired line. I laughed, cold and bitter, even to my own ears. "Okay, then tell me what I'm thinking. Because I'm pretty sure you've been disappearing every weekend to see another guy for 3 years. While I sat here like an idiot thinking you were taking care of your mom." She stood up, like she wanted to close the space between us, but I backed up a step. She froze. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quietly. "But you did. You are. Every damn week." She looked away, arms folded tightly, like if she squeezed hard enough she could keep herself from shattering. "It wasn't supposed to go on this long," she said. "At first it was just an escape. Jared was this thing I didn't take seriously. He made me feel different. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I wasn't really cheating because I was still coming home to you. I know that's messed up, okay? But it was just weekends. I didn't think I'd find out. I cut in. No, she said, her voice shaking. I didn't think I'd fall in love with both of you. I swear, I physically recoiled. You're in love with him? She nodded. I was. I don't even know anymore. It's all so twisted now. I felt something break inside of me right then. Not loud. Just this dull, clean snap, like the sound of a rope giving out slowly under too much weight. I gave you everything I had, I said. I never lied to you. Not once. I believed every word you said. I planned a future with you, Kayla. She started crying. But I couldn't tell if it was real or just reflex at this point. I'd seen her cry before. Hell, we've been through funerals, layoffs, even that time my uncle got diagnosed with cancer. But this time? I felt nothing. Her tears didn't reach me. I wanted to tell you, she whispered. So many times. But I didn't want to lose you. I shook my head. You lost me the moment you decided to lie. And you kept losing me every weekend after that. She moved toward me again, slower this time, hands shaking. Please, can we just talk? Just sit down and talk about what we do next. There's no we, Kayla. I left the apartment. Got in my car and drove to Chris's place without saying another word. She didn't try to stop me. Chris wasn't surprised to see me. He'd seen the text I sent him earlier and just opened the door with a six-pack in hand. I sat on his couch and told him everything, how I found the second Instagram, how I confirmed her mom's move, the texts, the pictures, the confrontation. He just listened. When I was done, he shook his head. Man, I don't even know what to say. I thought Kayla was cool. But this? This is sociopath-level double life crap. I rubbed my face. I just keep thinking, what if I never found out? How long would she have kept going? Another year? 5? Chris didn't answer. I didn't need him to. That night, I stayed at his place. Slept like garbage, couldn't stop thinking. Her voice, her face, the look when she said she was in love with both of us. How do you even say that out loud and not spontaneously combust? The next day, I went back to the apartment. She was gone. Left me a handwritten letter on the coffee table. Typical Kayla. Always dramatic when it came to closure. I sat down to read it. It was long. Pages of her trying to explain how she got lost, how she felt trapped by routine, how she never meant to fall for Jared but couldn't let go of what we had either. She said he didn't know about me. That she kept her world so separate, neither of us knew about the other until now. I didn't believe that. Not completely. The last line said, I'll move out by the end of the week. I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve any of this. That was the only part one agreed with. Over the next couple of days, she came by when I wasn't home and moved her stuff out. Chris helped me switch the locks and set up a couple cameras. I didn't want any more surprises. I blocked her number. Blocked Jared's, too, just in case. I didn't want an apology. I didn't want an explanation. I wanted my peace back. But that's the thing, peace doesn't come easy after a betrayal like that. Every quiet moment felt suspicious. Every person I talked to, I wondered if they knew. If they'd suspected. If they pitied me. It's wild how quickly love turns into doubt. How a home can start to feel like a crime scene. After Kayla left, the apartment was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, it felt post-apocalyptic. Her absence was everywhere. Empty hangers. No makeup on the bathroom counter. No more tangled charger cords by the bed. For 3 years she'd been here, not just as a girlfriend but a presence. A smell in the pillows. A sound in the background. Now it all just stopped. I remember standing in the kitchen one morning, pouring cereal into a bowl, and realizing I hadn't bought the brand I actually liked in over 2 years. It was always hers, some gluten-free, organic stuff I never cared for, but kept eating out of habit. I stood there, staring at the box, and I swear to God I almost started crying. It wasn't just the cheating. It was everything. The years I invested. The trust. The routines. The illusion of being part of something solid. I didn't just lose Kayla, I lost the version of myself I was when I still believed in her. The breakup news spread fast. I kept it vague, told most people we'd split up because we grew apart. Only Chris and 1 or 2 close friends knew the real reason. I didn't want the sympathy, the gossip. I didn't want to be the guy with the cheating ex. I just wanted to disappear for a while. But the world doesn't stop just because yours does. The worst part was the mutuals. Friends who liked us together. Friends who'd say things like, I always thought you two were solid, or she talked about you like you were her person. I had to bite my tongue every time someone said something like that. Because I wasn't going to be the guy airing dirty laundry just to win the breakup. That wasn't the point. One of Kayla's old friends, Emily, DM'd me about a week later. We'd always gotten along, but she was closer to Kayla than to me. The message said, Hey, I don't want to stir the pot. But I just wanted to say I had no idea what was going on. I thought you deserved better. I hope you're okay. I replied with a short thanks. I appreciate it, and left it there. But her message stuck with me. Because I realized something nobody really knew. Kayla had done a damn good job living two lives. And if someone as close as Emily didn't suspect, then maybe I wasn't crazy for missing the signs. Maybe I wasn't blind, I was just trusting. About 2 weeks after the breakup, I ran into Kayla. Total accident. I was at Trader Joe's on a Sunday morning, trying to shop before the crowd hit, and there she was, coming out of the frozen food aisle with a basket full of whatever. She looked different. Tired. Smaller somehow. We locked eyes. She froze. I gave a polite nod and kept walking. I figured that was the end of it. But before I'd even made it to the checkout, she tapped me on the shoulder. Can we talk? She asked. I didn't want to. Everything in me screamed to shut it down, to walk away. But I said yes. I don't know why. Maybe because I wanted to see if she still had anything left to say. We sat in my car, parked under a tree in the lot. She held the bag of groceries on her lap like it was a shield. I'm not with Jared anymore, she said. I stared at the steering wheel. Not really my business. I know. I just thought you should hear it. I stayed quiet. She sighed. He found out about you. Eventually. Said he didn't want to be part of some double-life drama. Called me a liar. Which, fair. I didn't even flinch. I felt nothing. Like I was watching someone else's life play out on screen. I've been staying with a friend, she continued. Trying to get my own place. My mom wants me to move to Arizona. Start over. Maybe you should, I said. She turned to me, her voice lower. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I still miss you. I miss us. I looked at her then. Her eyes were red. Voice trembling just a bit. And for the first time since this all began, I felt something other than anger. I felt pity. I miss who I thought you were, I said. But that version of you, she's gone. Kayla didn't argue. She just nodded, wiped a tear, and said, I'm sorry. And you know what? I believe she meant it. But it didn't change anything. We didn't hug. No closure kiss. No lingering goodbye. She just got out of the car, walked to hers, and drove off. And that was it. That night, I took down the last of the pictures we had together. Framed shots from a trip to Portland, a blurry Polaroid from our first apartment, a photo booth strip from a wedding we'd gone to last fall. I packed them all into a showbox and shoved it into the back of my closet. I wasn't ready to throw them out. But I couldn't look at them either. Healing from betrayal is weird. Some days I woke up and felt fine, relieved even. Other days I'd find myself staring at my phone, missing her name lighting up on the screen. Not because I wanted her back. But because I wanted that feeling back. The safety. The idea that someone was there. Loneliness isn't just about being alone, it's about not being known. I spent years thinking someone really knew me. Turned out she was just studying me like a cover story, reciting it to keep me calm. A few weeks later, Chris and I took a road trip. Nothing big. Just a weekend up north to get out of the city. On the drive, he said, you know, this sucks. All of it. But at least now you know what you don't want. That stuck with me. I don't want the half-truths. The secrets. The you wouldn't understand excuses. I want someone who shows up for real, weekdays, weekends, all of it. Maybe I'm not quite there yet. Maybe I still flinch when my phone buzzes, half expecting a message I don't want. But I'm getting better. Every day that passes, the air feels a little lighter. And that? That feels like a beginning. I thought it would get easier after that last conversation with Kayla, the one in the parking lot. And in some ways, it did. I wasn't wondering where she was every weekend. I wasn't sitting at home, imagining her with someone else. That part, the confusion, the spiraling thoughts, that ended. But the emptiness didn't. Grief is strange. It doesn't hit all at once. It's like water seeping under a locked door, slow, quiet, until suddenly the floor's soaked and you don't even remember hearing it come in. I started noticing little things. How quiet my apartment was at night. How my phone barely buzzed anymore. No, I miss you texts. No random memes or blurry cat photos. I didn't realize how much space she took up in my life until she was gone. She was in every corner of it. I remember one morning, I opened the fridge and saw a bottle of oat milk I hadn't touched. She was the only one who drank that stuff. I just stood there staring at it like it was a fossil, evidence that she had existed here, lived here, laughed and lied here. I threw it out. It's funny how your brain starts playing tricks on you when you go through something like this. I kept asking myself questions I knew were pointless. Was it always a lie? Did she ever really love me? What did Jared have that I didn't? I knew those were landmines, but I stepped on them anyway. Over and over. Chris kept checking in, trying to keep me afloat. He dragged me out to bars or his place to watch the game, even when I clearly didn't want to go. He knew better than to try and fix it. He just showed up. That's something I'll always be grateful for. A few weeks after the last time I saw Kayla, I found out Jared had posted a long breakup message on his Instagram. Someone sent it to me anonymously. No names, but it was obvious. A vague essay about betrayal, trust, and finding out someone I loved was living two lives. I didn't feel vindicated reading it. I felt tired. And sad. Not for him. Not even for her. For myself. Because I realized that no matter what side of the triangle you're on, betrayal poisons everything. No one wins. There are no clean breaks. Just damage. Around that same time, Emily, Kayla's old friend who had messaged me after the split, reached out again. This time, she wanted to meet for coffee. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, but curiosity got the better of me. So we met at a quiet cafe near the river. She looked nervous at first, like she didn't know how to talk to me now that I wasn't Kayla's boyfriend. I'm not here to stir anything up, she said right away. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For what? I asked. For not seeing it. For not saying anything. For maybe being a little too willing to believe the version of your relationship Kayla presented to us. I nodded. She was good at telling people what they wanted to hear. Emily sipped her coffee. She fooled a lot of us. Honestly, I think she fooled herself, too. That line hit me harder than I expected. I kept turning it over in my head on the walk home. She fooled herself too. Maybe that's what this was all along. A story Kayla kept telling herself until it became real enough to live inside, at least on the weekends. Doesn't make it better. But it made it clearer. I started therapy not long after that. A coworker recommended someone, and for the first time in my life, I actually went. I didn't know what I expected, maybe some magic sentence that would make it all make sense. What I got was a mirror. The therapist asked good questions. Stuff like, what made you trust her so much, or why did you dismiss the red flags when you noticed them? I didn't always have answers. But the act of digging helped. I realized something in one of those sessions that I hadn't wanted to admit. I was complicit, in a way. Not in her lies, obviously, but in the story I told myself about her. I wanted to believe she was this fiercely loyal, caring woman who spent every weekend taking care of her mom. Because believing that meant I didn't have to confront the growing distance between us. The absence. The secrecy. I was just as invested in the fantasy. Until I wasn't. Around the 2-month mark, something shifted. I started sleeping through the night again. I stopped checking her old profiles. I took the photos out of the showbox and tossed them. Not in a dramatic way. Just like trash I no longer needed. I even downloaded a dating app. Not to find someone right away, just to see what was out there. Swiped a few times. Talked to a couple people. But my heart wasn't in it yet. Still, it was a step. One night, Chris and I were out at a bar, and he asked me something that stuck with me. If she showed up right now and said she wanted to fix things, what would you do? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I'd ask her what she thought this was, that I'd just been sitting here frozen in time waiting for her to change. Chris smirked. Good answer. But the truth is, I didn't know how I'd feel if she reached out again. I wanted to believe I was done. That I'd closed the book and shelved it. But closure's a myth. All you can really do is clean the wound and wait for the scar to settle in. Sometimes I still catch myself doing the math. 3 years. About 150 weekends. That's, what? Over 300 days of lies? That number used to make me sick. Now, it just makes me more sure of what I want. Honesty. Consistency. Someone who doesn't compartmentalize me. And maybe most of all, someone who doesn't disappear. Because if I've learned anything, it's this: love isn't measured by what someone says Monday through Friday. It's measured by where they are on Saturday and Sunday when no one's watching. It's been almost 6 months now. Half a year since Kayla walked out of my life for the last time. And if you told me back then that I'd be okay now, actually okay, not just saying it to keep people off my back, I wouldn't have believed you. But I am. Not perfect, not healed in some storybook sense. But better. Steady. Grounded. Whole, or at least heading there. The first few months after the breakup were a fog. I won't lie and pretend I didn't spend nights reliving every detail, rereading old texts, going through memories like a detective trying to piece together where it all went wrong. But that phase passes. Slowly, then all at once. The turning point for me came on a random Tuesday in late spring. I was walking to the train, same route I'd taken for years. Past this little used bookstore I always ignored. But that day, I walked in. No reason. Just a feeling. I wandered around, picked up a copy of The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm. No idea why, I'm not usually into that kind of thing. But something about the title felt relevant. There was a line in the first chapter that stopped me cold. To love without knowing how to love wounds the person we love. That one sentence summed up everything I couldn't articulate about what happened between me and Kayla. She didn't know how to love, not in a way that required honesty, presence, or depth. She thought love was something you could juggle between lives, ration out depending on the day. But it doesn't work like that. Love isn't a performance. It's not a costume you wear during the week and take off on the weekends. That day was the first time I stopped blaming myself. I'd done my part. I'd shown up. I believed in her. And while that trust may have been misplaced, it wasn't wasted because it told me who I am. Someone who commits. Someone who doesn't vanish when things get hard. Someone who won't trade honesty for comfort. And yeah, maybe that means I got burned. But I'd rather get burned being real than live in someone else's illusion. In the months since, I've made some changes. Little ones at first, painted the walls in the bedroom, bought a new couch, switched out the dishes she picked. Not because I needed to erase her, but because I needed to reclaim the space. Make it mine again. Bigger changes followed. I started seeing someone new. Her name's Hannah. We met at a work mixer, and I didn't think much of it at first. But she had this quiet way of listening that made me feel heard without having to explain everything. I told her the truth early on. About Kayla. About the double life. About the damage it left. She didn't flinch. Just nodded and said, that must have been a lot. And that was it. No probing, no pity. Just space to be honest. We're taking it slow. I'm not in a rush. I've learned that trust isn't something you find, it's something you build, brick by brick. And this time, I'm not rushing the foundation. Funny thing is, I don't think I ever got closure from Kayla. Not really. There was no big confession. No full explanation. Just a lot of fragments and half-hearted apologies. But what I realized, and what I wish someone had told me sooner, is that closure isn't something another person gives you. It's something you give yourself when you finally accept that some people will never own what they did. And that's okay. They don't have to. Because you can still move forward without them. Looking back, the part that hurts the most isn't even the cheating. It's the years I spent giving someone the benefit of the doubt when they didn't earn it. The weekends I spent alone, thinking I was being patient and supportive, when really, I was just being played. But I've stopped seeing that as a weakness. It wasn't. Loving someone fully, even if they don't deserve it, isn't weakness. It's courage. The kind of courage I'll take with me into whatever comes next. As for Kayla, I don't know where she is now. Maybe she's in Arizona. Maybe she's still trying to reinvent herself in someone else's weekend routine. I don't check anymore. I don't need to. She was a chapter. A long one, sure. But not the whole book. The pages keep turning. And me? I'm still here. Still standing. Still learning how to love better. Smarter. Freer. Next time, I'll be ready for the real thing. And I won't settle for less.